Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to the Nerd Ledger. I'm Cage, and that's Chair.
Chair.
And listen, I'm hoping everything here goes smoothly. My video connected shows maxed green. My thing here shows CPU usage 1.1%. Usually it's like 20 or 30.
Mm.
I'm using a laptop that has better specs than my desktop computer. So everything here
Yeah.
should work way more smooth. We shouldn't have weird desync between you and I talking and delay and all this other nonsense, hopefully.
Yep. Yep. Hopefully it'll be a normal episode, and then we'll like be so used to things petering out by 30 minutes. Now we got to get back into a new groove of being able to do a whole episode competently, which we're good at because we're professional podcasters. Have been doing this like for like what 2, 3 years now. But you should probably know off the top of your head, right? It's been a
Well,
while. We've
well,
been doing this for
we've been doing this since 2021 ish.
wow, 4 years. Holy
But
shit.
yeah, I've been podcasting since 2014, so almost
Yeah.
11 years, 10
We
years
still haven't.
actually, 10 years.
Sorry, we haven't gotten our freaking podcast to a panel at SAC Anime yet, or whatever you guys got that one time for Nerdy
That
Boys. Like,
was Silicon Valley Comic Con. Yeah, we
uh,
did a live podcast. The thing is, that was really confusing because
how many people attended? If you don't mind me asking.
well, the event a lot, but who
Okay.
attended like watched us less than
Yeah.
10.
Okay.
Like it's not like it wasn't like a big thing where you'd have like they had chairs set up, but there wasn't a lot of audience. Like even the people before us who
Yeah.
actually were having a pretty decent conversation because we caught the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it wasn't a lot of people there. But it was fun. It's just like I wish they would have told us more because essentially, right, we thought it was more like, hey, we're gonna be at this event. We'll pick a fun topic to talk about. And that's kind of it because like our normal show was kind of like what you and I do pretty much like we talk about a movie here or
Yeah.
there, we talk about
Yeah.
some nerd shows here and there, but mostly we would talk about whatever like the weekly news is.
Yeah.
And so
It's relevant. It's evergreen content. It's always easy to talk about the news, especially with like you and I who have like different perspectives on things and like just approach like deconstructing certain subjects
right,
differently. So
but like
yeah.
when you're in front of a brand new audience, right, and there's all the for me it's like we should be here to kind of introduce ourselves a little bit and have a conversation more
Mm-hmm.
than like, hey, let's just bust out some papers and start talking about the news in front of random people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we decided to do like a topic. So we ended up talking about kind of like a controversial thing in this nick of the woods in the nerd world kind of is like it's not controversial to us, but it's controversial to like the greater, wider audience of people, and that is like the idea of like are esports athletes real athletes? And so like we broke down kind of like some of the research and like what goes through their brains and like the dopamine stuff and like how much like you when you compare it to athletes and their physical output, the mental output, and like measuring that with brain waves. We talk, and it's like some people that would appeal to and others it wouldn't. But it's like we just chose a topic to discuss and kind of did more of a like high school, argument, rebuttal, devil's advocate kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like our show in the purest form. It was just kind of like we were trying to show this is who we are. We could talk about anything and make it enjoyable or try to. But yeah, maybe one day we'll do that. We just have to figure out like honestly, it's more fun probably not even to have a topic, just to have a conversation and be like talk about the things we're into like and spiral out of there because we could talk about Lord of the Rings and Tolkien and all those nerd conversations you have like does Darth Vader really need to put his hand up and pinch his fingers to choke someone, or is that just to
No.
convey to the audience that he's doing it, he could do it with his mind? Like what is the instrument of how that works? Like these are conversations dudes like nerd dudes have at bars and comic book shops and whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway.
Anyway, so that happened. We haven't done that yet though because I don't know, you know, just what prompted you guys to do that? Like, did you just like say that this thing was available and you decided to like pay? You could like pulled some money together and paid for it, or like were you invited?
No, yeah. So I saw an advertisement for it
Mm-hmm.
on Instagram or something, because like I'm a nerd, so like they advertise to nerds. So it was like SVCC, Silicon Valley Comic Con. Um, is looking for podcasters for an event or whatever, and so I
Mm.
applied through that, and then you send them like your intro music and like samples of your podcast and stuff, and so we sent them all of that, and then they're like, okay, yeah, come, I had to pay. You have to pay to go to the event still, like they don't cover that, but you don't pay for
Mm.
anything else. It's like you're just paying to go to the convention. And then they're like, okay, yeah, if you pay to go to the convention on this day, here's your time slot. Then you can come and do your podcast here. And like if you're really good, you might get picked up by this network and whatever, right?
Oh, yeah,
Um,
that's interesting.
yeah. But yeah, so we just we were gonna attend the event, and it was we just did that. They play your intro music that you send them as you're walking up to the stage, and then you just do your thing. So
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything like that since. I know some conventions will have like podcasts going on during them, like they'll have but like they're usually like very famous people, or like people who have very
Yeah.
popular podcasts already. It's not like a open to anyone kind of application thing. So
Mm. Yeah.
unfortunately,
Yeah, and it's
but
also like, I'm sure some people that were watching your audience were just people that are trying to take a break from the con. Like, okay, I'll sit here, eat our snacks, and like, watch these guys, like, to make them feel good or something like that. Maybe there are a
yeah,
couple people in that audience. So,
yeah.
it's still interesting that it happened and that you had that experience. So it must have been interesting. Because I know you can be a bit shy like myself. So even then, like, even with 10-ish people out there, like, were you a little nervous or anything like that?
Not really, because it's like I'm just talking to someone. Like it's just me talking to my podcast co-host. Like those
Yeah.
things are okay to me. Like you get nervous before, but it's the same thing as like performing music. Like like whenever I've played music live in front of an audience, like before you're nervous, but when you're playing, like you're just doing your thing, and like it
Mm.
feel like you just feel good. Like when I don't know if it's just me, but like if I'm like playing music with someone and like it just clicks, like it's like euphoric, I don't know how to describe it, but that's how I
Yeah.
feel. So
Yeah. Good
um,
little, get into a flow with someone else. It's absolutely, it's pretty
well,
dope.
that's like what jamming is, right? So like I
Yeah.
haven't I haven't been able to do that for a long while, but like I used to do it with one of my friends. Like I'd play something on guitar and he'd just start playing drums and like boom, it just works. And then like I would do it with my wife's dad. We haven't done it in a while, but he plays piano and he's a really good pianist. Like he plays in the church every week.
Mm.
And so we've done it a couple times where I've played drums while he plays piano, or I'll play guitar with his piano, which I'm not as good at because my brain for music theory and the keys and all that stuff. Like I have to find where I need to be playing first before I can really improvise. You know what I'm saying? So,
Mm.
but I was still able to do it, which surprised even me. Like it's a challenge. So like yeah, stuff like that. It's cool. It's cool.
Mm.
But yeah, no, like that's why, like it's you get nervous before that, but when I'm on a stage or in front of people performing, like I don't really see them. It's just like me and the person I'm with.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's
Absolutely.
much more nerve wracking and makes me more anxious to be like how we were at SAC Anime, just like in a crowd of a bunch of people. That's overwhelming to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Too.
Like, and that's why I'm not like it's not great for me to go with like people because I just want to move. I just want to get out of the way and like
Yeah.
because if I'm
I
just
think
like
you and I.
there.
Yeah, I think you and I too really vibe. Like, I'm good for Sack Anime. Just do the single day. Just go up and check all the vendors and then leave.
Yeah.
Just walk the artist alleys. Like, scope a few of the cosplays. Like, yeah, there's hot chicks. That's always good to see too. And like, just people doing funny meme shit. It's always funny to see in public. Like, people like memeing and shit.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, it'd be interesting to see the nightclubs, but that'd be solely for personal green reasons. So
Oh
like,
yeah, the
that'd be about it.
after parties and
Yep.
stuff and
Yeah, yeah, the after parties, just to, meet chicks and
yeah.
stuff like that. That's always a good time. Do shit at clubs like that, dress your favorite anime characters. I'm sure that's a good time, but I'm not really about that life anymore. I'm just trying to relax, just trying
Yeah.
to chill, trying to really focus on chilling instead of going out and partying 24/7 like I used to be. So,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah. No, like for me conventions, like I almost view them more as like museums. Like I go to see the things and then I want to leave.
Yeah,
Like,
no, I think, yeah, for sure. When I get some more cash, because I do want to buy things when I'm there. But I just gotta get some more cash. But next time for sure, I'm like feeling good up to it. I'll be sure to hit you up for like second, maybe winter, spring, because they have like they do it like 3 damn times a year now, right? Looks like.
I don't. I know for sure it's like the two primary ones are January and September.
Mm,
But there's a bunch of other conventions in between. There's even cheaper conventions like Sacramento Comic Cons, like SacCons, Stockton Con. Like that would be a good one for us to go to because like 20 minutes, 25 minutes from you.
yeah, yeah, we
Like
can both meet up there. Yeah,
yeah, um,
park.
yeah. And Stockton Cons are pretty nice. It's like 3 days. Like we wouldn't do 3 days, but one day is like $18 or something. Like it's not bad.
Yep.
It's a smaller show, but like it depends what you like because they get a lot of like different kind of celebrity guests there. They're not like the big ones. Like they'll get comic book people, of course, and like cosplayers. But then like a lot of times they'll also get wrestlers.
Yeah, I always see a lot of wrestlers at Stockton Con. Like
Yeah,
I get the ads, because like I do like browse conventions like on the events page. Like, oh, if I had a bunch of money, I'd go to this business, but I don't
yeah,
have any money, so um, but that aside, like it's just like fun to browse.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, we'll check some more out. Um, just depending. Who knows if I'll be working over the summer again on the weekends, but.
Mm,
Yeah. I know I'll be going to some concerts though. One in Concord on a Wednesday night, which will be that'll be something.
mm.
And then yeah, like both like I'm going to two concerts 2 days apart. One on a Wednesday and one on a Friday in June. It's gonna be fun. So.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, let's. I guess we should talk about Skeleton Crew, right? That's
Yeah,
why
I
we're
guess
all
so.
here.
Unless there's any news you wanted to go over real quick.
Oh,
Is there?
so I mean, there's a Daredevil trailer, right? Daredevil comes
Yep.
out on March 4th. Don't
Yep.
know if you watched it,
No, I have not.
but it looks like Daredevil. It looks like very very Netflix series Daredevil. It's gonna be violent. It's gonna be bloody. It's gonna be everything that they've kind of promised it would be. We'll have to see how well they make it work, but that's what it looks like it's gonna be right now. Based on that trailer. It was a very, very enjoyable trailer. Yeah, there's other news, but I don't think it's. I didn't save everything, I don't think, but. Yeah, I don't care about that. Oh, this was the big one, and it is. It's very funny to me. So Andy Muschietti, he was the director of the Flash movie, and he was
Mm-hmm.
kind of asked why he thinks it didn't succeed very much.
Mm-hmm.
And his answer was that people just don't really like the Flash, and the Flash isn't a very popular character, which is fucking absurd. Like the Flash is one of the
That's
most
ridiculous.
popular DC characters of all time.
Absolutely.
It had 9 seasons on the CW as a TV show. Like
Yep.
you don't.
He was one of the Justice League in Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. Like in the original
Yeah.
Justice League, before they got all the heroes, it was just a core group of heroes, right? The Flash was one of those heroes.
And when you
It was the
grow up,
Flash.
like people our age, right? Growing up watching Justice League, your two favorite characters, for the most part, they're not Batman and Superman. I'm telling you, everyone I knew growing up watching those shows, it's the Flash and Green Lantern.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, well, some people Martian Manhunter, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, you were saying.
No, I'm just saying like the Flash was like the Flash is part of that lineup. Who's on the Justice League, right? In the original one. Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, the Flash, like he's
Yeah.
up there like with the big guys. Like yeah, sure, he's not the Batman or Superman, but he's still like up there, They haven't made a Flash game because I just think it'd be really hard to make I think it's really hard to make a speedster game, right? A
Mhm.
speedster video game, but I think if the technology is there, they would absolutely try to make one.
Yeah, well, they haven't made very many DC-based games that are like
The Batman games are
practical,
really
right? Yeah, it's the
the
Batman.
games
It's really Batman. It's like,
yeah.
and even then, like like
They are.
there's not much expansion there. Like what they would make video games when movies came out were like old Superman, like Superman Returns. I think they had a Superman game for or something. But yeah, no, you don't see a whole lot of DC superhero games besides like Injustice, like a fighting game, right, which would make sense. But like story games or whatever, you don't see a whole lot. So, but yeah, no, that I think that's that's an abhorrent misunderstanding of your character and your audience. The movie failed for many reasons. One of them is Ezra Miller.
Yeah.
Another one is the fact that the movie was in production for like 7 or 8 years with like 14 different writers, script rewrites, different directors. I think Rick Fumiyawa was attached to it at one point. He's well known for his role in directing certain episodes of The Mandalorian. He's done other
Mm.
things as well that I'm not as familiar with, but um, yeah, the movie failed just because it was in production hell for a long time. The
Yep.
direction at Warner Brothers and DC has always been awful. You're petering out of the DCEU into a new era, the DCU run by James Gunn. You have Ezra Miller as your lead actor, who is full of history, and controversy and all those things. This is why the
Mm.
movie didn't do very well. It could have, it didn't. It's not
Mm.
because nobody likes the Flash. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Characters that people really didn't know and didn't like. The Guardians of the Galaxy, and those movies are all were very, very successful.
Yeah. And also like, the Flash movie just didn't make a whole lot of sense and kind of went all over the place and had like this over the top plot line that seemed like it was sort of like written like the apex of all the DC movies, and it wasn't. And it felt like, it's just it sucks that DC is in such a horrible state. I'm gonna keep mourning it. It sucks. And hopefully James Gunn can fix it, but it also sucks that we needed someone from the Marvel Cinematic Universe to come over and say, okay, I'm gonna project my vision here.
Yeah, I don't know if you've watched any of Creature Commandos yet, but
I'm going to.
yeah, it needs to be on the list, buddy.
All right,
Uh,
yeah, I'll start tonight.
but yeah, no, like it gives me hope for the future with James Gunn at DC. I know a lot of people don't really like his style, and they're not as happy about it, and that's fine too. Like, not everything appeals to everyone, and that's okay. But anyway, that was the only real piece of news I found interesting.
Mm,
Um, we I don't know if I talked about it with you. I don't think I did. But there was also news a couple weeks ago. The CEO of Sony,
mm,
who's leaving, said that their Spider Verse movies, Craven, Madam Web, and Morbius, were great movies, but they were butchered by critics, and that's why they didn't do well.
I don't know about that one, homie.
He said there was a witch hunt for it and blah blah blah. And again, bro, people didn't go see those movies because Spider Man's not in them.
Mm,
And if they were good, if they were genuinely great movies without him, we would have heard about it,
yeah.
and people would have gone and seen them. Like those are simple reasons. Of course, there's way more that goes into it. Like, movies cost ridiculous amounts of money to go see now,
Mm,
and people aren't just gonna go leave their home for Craven, who's not that well known of a character outside of comic book circles. Same with
yeah.
Madam Web. Same with Morbius. Like, Venom, the Venom movies have done okay, except for like they've fallen off as well. But they only did well because most people know who Venom is, and you in the first one, the director straight up lied at Comic Con and said Spider Man was going to be in it and it was going to be rated R. Two things that didn't happen. So, anyway.
Those sons of bitches.
Yeah, those sons of bitches.
Yeah.
You
Um,
bastard.
I don't know why Sony be making those. In gamer news, there's a Nintendo Switch 2.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw potentially a new
Yeah.
Mario Kart as well.
Yep. 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 It's always big news. Good party game. Maybe I'll pick up this model. We'll see.
Yeah.
My Switch is the first original model when the first one came out. It's running a little slow these days.
Yeah.
Um,
There's a lot of issues with the Switch, I think. Like,
there's a lot of issues with the original Switch. The original
the
Switch shipped with a lot of.
Joy-Cons.
Yeah,
Um,
I have stick drift. I use a Switch Pro controller now because I can't use my Joy Cons because
yeah,
the
because
drift.
they break.
The drift is just ridiculous. It's ridiculous now. I don't want to go through the process of like shipping them back and forth. Like, I straight up don't want to do that. I know I should, but I don't want to, so I'm not
Mhm.
gonna do it. And I just bought a Pro controller for myself, and it works great. It has rumble. It has like the directional everything. I only play Pokemon. That's why I'm playing on the Switch. I don't play any of the games. I
Mm,
play Mario Party sometimes, but all I really do is play Pokemon. So
yeah.
I don't really need anything else. Um,
Well, even
you know,
like
I,
just the graphic capabilities like aren't very good Like,
Well, it's Nintendo, so you don't really expect
yeah,
graphics, but you do expect a really fun game to play.
yeah,
That's the most important thing. You expect a game that you could will absolutely like capture your attention, and you won't be thinking of anything else but playing that game, right?
yeah,
Like sometimes, like days when I have suffering horribly from depression, I will absolutely play, good Nintendo games that'll just help me relax, and they do. And that's like an important part. So I don't really sweat the Nintendo graphics that much. I just care that they that they function as games and that they are fun to play. And that they are glitch free, which is another thing that Nintendo is famous for, is making very clean, well polished games that they come out as fully complete titles that don't need to be patched into a functioning game, right?
yeah,
Nintendo is still one of the last beacons of places that doesn't do that, other than like Santa Monica Studio and Sony, which pumps out like one AAA game every 9 years, like right, the God of War trilogy, which is really fantastic games, right? But they take forever to make, and the replayability is kind of okay. Not in my book though. I only can play a main story campaign once or twice before I get absolutely bored and need to play a different game. Like
mm,
it's hard for me to play single player games over and over and over again, unless it's like something with an insane replayability like Skyrim. So yeah,
yeah,
so Nintendo is making this new Switch. It looks very much more tech heavy. And we'll see what happens. Like, they've already started importing a catalog of their old games to the Switch. I'm hoping to see this will make it grow. Maybe they'll like have more N64 games. Maybe they'll have some like GameCube games. Because
yeah,
again, like you said, the Switch is technically limited. Maybe they'll make it so the Switch 2 can have very specific title releases that they just couldn't do on the original Switch to make everyone switch over.
right,
Because I'm absolutely like, I would much rather just pay for like I've emulated tons of games, right? I've tons and tons of games. It's just something gamers do. I would absolutely appreciate a service where I could just pay to have access to a game like to a company's old catalog,
yeah,
and it really sucked. And and then that's what Nintendo's doing, and that's what Sony's starting to do too. So I'm just hoping that that trend will continue, right? Because in Sony now, now that I pay for PS Premium, I can play every old PS2 game that I really want to play, which is just Ratchet and Clank, Sly Cooper, Jack and Daxter, sometimes the Spyro games,
mm-hmm.
So it's good to be playing them.
Yeah, I think the Switch succeeded where a lot of other systems failed. Like obviously, like Game Boy was
Yeah.
revolutionary and all that and whatever, but like the
Well,
DS was it was good for its
and
time, but
the
like the PS
And the
Vita,
Wii, and the
right?
Wii, man, the Wii was just a revolution, man.
Yeah,
It was a revolution. Like,
yeah,
and then the Wii U came out, right? And the Wii U, you have to remember the thing about the timeline. What came after the Wii U was the Switch. Like the Wii U was a piece of junk. Everybody hated that thing. Like nobody liked it. It was a really dumb gimmick. The gimmick was okay. You buy a Wii, and then you buy this expensive $200 LED handheld that you look down sometimes to do some little dumb gimmick in your game.
yeah. But
That's
but but as like
that's it.
as gamers, and I don't claim to be a gamer, but like if you play
Mm.
games growing up, like your dream is to be able to like play your game wherever you go and have a
Yeah,
like a large enough screen to like with
yeah.
decent graphics, right? I mean, like the biggest
Mobile
problems
gaming. Yeah,
with like Game Boys were like yeah, they were great, but like your graphics were never going to be great.
yeah.
um
Too bad.
yeah, and so the PS Vita tried that, and it was okay for what it was. I never used it, but like obviously if it was a great product it would have continued its success. But they abandoned that PlayStation because not enough people cared about it, and I'm sure it had a bunch of issues. And so
Mm.
the Nintendo Switch is the first real like successful high quality version of that. You can take it on a plane and enjoy your games, right?
Yeah.
And I think I don't know how well the Steam Deck's doing, but like it's the Steam Deck,
Doing great.
it probably wouldn't exist without the Switch having existed first, is
Yeah.
my guess.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so yeah, like despite everything, right? The Nintendo Switch, much like the Wii, is revolutionary for what it is.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it's the jump to helm gaming,
yeah,
it's a that's what like the Pokemon game on there was like a whole new thing. It's trying to be a whole new thing. It really is. And you're right. And, they made the jump to handheld gaming because it was a thing that was rising in China. Like again, I'm a huge
yeah.
fan of emulation, right?
Well,
There's this
because of
company.
mobile gaming, right? Like,
Yeah, well, no, but there's a company you never heard of, right? They're called Retroid. Have you ever heard of them before?
mm, it sounds familiar, but I have no idea. If you ask me what do they make, I couldn't tell you.
They make handheld retro gaming devices
Hmm.
that are essentially mobile pocket computers that can play old video games, right? And then they just put a bunch of pirated copies of tons of old, like, and they're shipping straight from China, right? And
Yeah.
then the fucking people, the owners of the company don't give a shit, right? But they're insanely popular, right? They started becoming insanely popular in the like in 2015, 2016, 2017, and now like they sell like essentially they sell a fake Nintendo DS that is like designed to look and it's completely different, but it looks and feels like a DS, right?
Sure.
They have a fake Game Boy SP, which is like just a clamshell, right? And they have a fake Game Boy. Like they have all these fake, and they have like a fake PS Vita now. Like they have all these different things that emulate these things, but you can also put whatever game you want on them, right? And I think that the Nintendo Switch is absolutely Nintendo doing that. And the Nintendo Switch 2 just has a lot of chips and bigger ports, and it just looks like a bigger, beefier machine.
Yeah.
And I think the original Switch had problems where it was just really dinky, and it was like really it would bend. It would bend when it was in its home port. Like the screen would warp. Oh man, that was such a long time ago thinking about that. That was like 2015, 2014. I remember hearing Jim Sterling rant about that with Total Biscuit back before he died. Ah man, those are the days.
Well.
Um, So anyway, though, but I just think that I'm excited for it. I'm probably gonna get it. I have the original Switch. I used it to play Pokemon. I'm still playing Pokemon right now. I haven't touched it in a long time. I think I'm gonna be switching gears from after I do some more stuff in this dumb Star Wars MMORPG that I play compulsively every single day. I'm starting to get really burnt out on it, like really, really burnt out on it. So I think I'm gonna start playing like on my consoles more because I have a PS5 and I have games on it I haven't played yet, and it's been 2 years, and I really do need to do that. So I'm gonna be doing that in addition to and then come onto my computer to do very specific things, and then get right
Yeah.
off of it. So yeah, but
Absolutely.
Skeleton Crew.
Yes. Yes, I just want to take a moment at this 26.5 minute mark to
Mhm.
appreciate that we've had no input lag,
No
no
interruptions.
no encoding issues on the voices.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah,
Next week you gotta try streaming.
yeah. So here we are, and yeah, we're gonna talk about Skeleton Crew, episodes 6, 7, and 8. And yeah. So I don't know what you want to do first. If you want to just talk about the episodes and then talk about our final thoughts at the end, or if you want to like talk about your thoughts overall now.
I
Um,
think since it's a finale, it's a finale, so probably overall because 6, 7, 8 are such a blur. I keep thinking about the show overall, and like it was just such a good show. There's like nothing
yeah,
wrong with it. I don't think there are any episodes that I didn't like or anything like that, and it's just
yeah. Like
so
I think I
rare.
just have one minor complaint
Mhm.
about the last episode, but overall, yeah, it's a fantastic show. Like
Yeah,
it's just amazing. It's
and
incredible.
it's just so funny how like these shows like come out of fucking nowhere, right? Like,
Yeah,
like Andor, like, oh, I'm making like some guy was just like, I want to make a show about that one of those dudes from like, Rogue One, let's make him like kind of an origin story. I thought he was pretty good. And he
yeah,
was like, all right, let's do it. And then everyone was like, well, they're making an origin story for like guy from Rogue One. Like, when they make one for Jane Urso instead, like, what the fuck? Like, this is dumb. Like, it's not gonna succeed. And then everyone stopped paying attention to it. And then like it grew and swelled in the darkness like a fungus or something like that, and it just turned into this huge, massive cinematic masterpiece that we've all come to know and love, right?
yeah,
And Skeleton Crew's the exact same way. When I was like, yeah, man, I'm just trying to make a feel good Star Wars kind of Goonies sort of thing. And that wasn't like exciting. That wasn't sexy. It was like I'm trying to make something gritty and realistic. I'm trying to make something like very speaks to the issues of the day. Like this is just like something that's fun. And I think in that innocence, that something really beautiful happened, and then we got this show.
yeah. I mean,
We were
there
because
definitely are like deeper themes and meanings to the show, but like,
it's very violent at times too. Very violent.
oh yeah,
We can
bro.
talk. People get melted in acid. Like that dude. When that dude gets shot and he falls into that grab trap and flies up into those spikes, like that's crazy,
Oh
dude.
yeah.
That shit was so intense. That's when it, for me, stopped being a kid show. It's a show with kids in it. That's how I like to think of this show,
Yeah,
right? Too many people call it a kid show. I don't like to call it a kid show.
yeah. Well, I mean, like, we'll just cover some of the things, right? So episode 6
Mhm.
was there's not a lot of takeaways from episode 6. Really, it's like Jod, is trying to escape the sauna planet, and he gets captured by the pirates, and the kids, they end up splitting up, and there's a giant trash crab, and Wim helps KB, repair her thingy thing. And yeah, that's like it. And like then like Jod is like sentenced to death. That's like the whole episode. But it's like, a nice feel good episode where like the kids end up getting back together, and like there's certain things that like KB didn't want to tell Fern because like she had like these insecurities and whatever, but like they love, they all, it's a feel good thing, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's pretty much that. But then you have episode 7 where a bunch of shit happened, and it's mostly about the kids trying to get home, and the message being sent, the parents trying to send them a message. And so there's a lot that happens in that episode. And yeah. Wim is sad like always, because he struggles with this idea that like he's gonna go back to his old life.
Being normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, being normal.
Which again is something we talked about last week. But like it's a very common fantasy trope of like, once you pass over that threshold into the extraordinary, like nothing will ever be the same again for you, right? Like because you've had that experience, like what else is out there, and that persists throughout the rest of this season, like because it's also like in the final episode when he is home, and also like Fern and everybody else, like they know now what's out there. And it's I think Fern says to her mom something like, it's something about how like Aden exists to keep everyone safe. But like she was saying, like, well, not everyone out there is bad. Like we've been to a lot of places and there's a lot of very good people out there still, like we shouldn't just shut ourselves off because bad things exist.
Yeah, I think the kids' interaction with their parents after going through the adventure was very well done. This whole, like, the whole finale was just the perfect wrap up to everything, in my personal opinion. There was no issue. Like, I know you said you had a slight issue with it, but like, it's just the way the story like wrapped up very simply and like great, and probably like, okay, well, this planet's probably going to rejoin the Republic now, and the Republic's probably going to like open it up for settlement or something like that, or whatever.
Yeah, I feel like there's still some loose strings, obviously. I mean, and they have to keep him there because, potentially there will be a season 2. Like, we don't really know what happened to Jod. And I would have liked for the kids to get, sorry, real quick, spoiler warning, if you haven't watched Skeleton Crew yet, we're going to spoil it. Anyway, I would have liked for the kids maybe to, like, get some kind of recognition at the end from the New Republic or something. Maybe some like more akin to like the end of A New Hope, where like Luke and Han and Chewie are recognized for their role in destroying the Death Star, right? Like, these kids did something, right? Like I feel like someone from the New Republic should have landed their ship and like done something. Kind of like, for me, it felt like it ended very abruptly.
It did. Yeah, it certainly did. And I feel like that's because, again, like the short, a friend of mine just said like it just felt like it ended too quickly, and it had like it could have used another episode. I think like
well, they could have just
30...
used another 5 or 10 minutes of this episode. Like without, if you subtract the 5 minutes of credits in the episode, it was 35 minutes long.
Yeah.
They could have easily added 5 minutes to like have the New Republic ships land. Do whatever. Like, but yes, yeah, they'll probably join the New Republic. This takes place around-ish the same time as parts of the Mandalorian. So like it's pretty easy to integrate these things. But overall, like the last episode is pretty violent. I mean, not only do you have like you have this pirate invasion, but like, I don't know if you got this vibe, but watching it, I got this like World War II Germany vibe of like people being ripped out of their homes, and
it was a pirate raid. It's like it's not a wholesome. It's a really unwholesome thing to happen. Like
no,
like,
of course, like they conveyed that very well. It's just like I was like, shit, man, like that's intense, like.
It is intense, like, because I think it's because it hits really home for you because it was kind of a suburban environment, like, to see, like, these pirate vessels just descend and rip these people out of their homes, like,
Yeah, blowing up all their homes, and, and then being told, like, essentially, like, you're a slave to us now, and, You know,
Yep.
if you
That's
don't cooperate, you'll die.
yeah. That's feudalism. It's like
Yeah.
the bandit kingdom. You know, that's how that shit works.
Yeah. And that's why like I agree with you like and we should take issue with people who say, oh, it's just a silly kids show. Like
It's not.
there's nothing kid about that. Like these are
Yeah.
like they didn't water down the reality of like pirating and all that shit, right? Like,
Yeah.
Pirates of the Caribbean watered that down way more than this does. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
um, but yeah, no, that was one of the things. It was, I enjoyed seeing some B wings in action as well.
Yeah. Same.
You know,
My friends really don't. A lot of my friends really don't like the beam. They think the beam's dumb.
I don't hate the beam.
Yeah.
I
I
think
think
four individual beams is better than
yeah.
one beam where they all diagonally intersect. But hey,
Yeah. Well, it's also like not even like the beaming's not. It's like just four guns, like just shooting the fuck out of something, and then they like launch torpedoes and like the armor like they chunked off, you know.
yeah,
So that would have been cool to see instead of like just a simple beam, like weird beam thing slicing through everything.
yeah. But and just like seeing, there's something about just seeing X-wings,
Yep.
and how they fly, and when they lock their S foils in attack position,
Yeah.
there's
Crawling
something about
Corvette
that that's
too.
just it makes me feel good inside.
Yep.
Like I remember having that feeling in the theater watching The Force Awakens for the first time. Just
Yeah.
like when
Absolutely.
Poe shows up in the X-wing, when they're on Maz Kanata's planet, uh,
Yeah.
and the First Order's there, and they show up and all these X-wings flying over the water and like it just, I don't know, it like gave me this feeling like
No,
this.
it's an
Yeah,
iconic That was an iconic moment for that movie, and it's just I think it's just X-wings are an iconic ship that we associate with like heroism and like the heroes going to do things and
yeah. I
you
mean,
know
we have that with like the Millennium Falcon as well, but like seeing it, that it didn't do that for me. I was just like, oh, cool, there's the Millennium Falcon. Like it felt forced a little bit, whereas like
mm,
just seeing X-wings is just like, I don't know. It's very nostalgic in a lot of ways. Like it just makes you feel good.
yeah.
So, but yeah, the New Republic came and saved the day after the kids saved the day by getting Wim's dad got the power back on. You know what I'm saying? Coming in
Yep.
clutch. And yeah, so that allowed KB to fly the ship through the barrier and put the message out to that cool owl lady Kim. Terrible name, but cool owl lady.
Yep.
And to contact the New Republic, and then ultimately they had to shut down the barrier to allow them to get through,
Mm,
which they were able to do with the help of the parents, right? Because hey, when Wim finally turned on the lightsaber the proper way, though, that shit was hard,
yeah.
bro. He turned that shit on like a boss. He was like,
Yep.
"Look at me now, bitch." But yeah, we get some more insight into Jod's history as well. He is very clearly he is using the actual Force. He's not an enhanced human like I thought he might be. He uses the Force properly. He was found as a kid by a Jedi Master,
Yep.
and
I
then
told you. Called it.
yeah, he learned the harsh realities of the world. You know what's
Yep.
cool, right? So we didn't talk about the supervisor at all, but the supervisor was a
Was
droid.
cool. Yeah, I thought that was cool. I thought that was cool too.
Yeah, and it's like part of the great work and all this stuff, and it's like really, it's kind of like communism kind of thing. Like there's a lot of themes you could throw into this, like communism, kind of like there's some religious themes in there, but
Mm,
like this idea that like we can have this utopia where everyone has a purpose, we give them a purpose, and they do the work, with I'm assuming that everybody's job in there was just to help make credits, right?
yeah.
For the Republic or whatever, and as they do so, they're fulfilling the great work, right? Because we learn in episode 7 about like the parents are like, hey, you guys need to find a Republic emissary and they can bring you home. Like, obviously, the Republic knows about Atton and they've closed it off to create this utopia, which obviously Akron was a failure of. But here's a successful one. It's inside this maelstrom with this barrier. Nobody can find it because nobody's going through that maelstrom and surviving. No one
Mm.
can leave. Like, it's just this very insular world whose entire job is to live peacefully away from all the horrors and the violence and the toxicity of, you know, the
Galaxy. Yeah.
galaxy. Yeah, and so they created this world, and one of the big themes, manifested through Fern, and maybe some of the other kids, but like mostly through Fern in the last episode is like, yeah, and this is about growing up. Like, this is what kids learn growing up, like, and what something parents need to, they realize over time too, because the world is scary, especially for parents. Like, how do I protect my kid from all these outside forces, all these things I can't control? And here they do it by making a planet for it. But in the real world, like, it's something that parents struggle with, and kids grow up and they have to face those realities alone, and they have to learn these things for themselves. And that's what happened with our heroes in this series. And yeah, they went out there and they saw all the scary things, and they accept that that's reality, and they don't see that it's all bad. They see that there's good too, and that just because there are dangers and there are scary things doesn't mean we should shut ourselves off from the world. Like, we need to face those things. We need to strive to make things better for everyone, not just hide away and make things as best as they can be for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, there's a lot of good themes here. A lot of things about courage. I think is a constant theme about learning to trust your friends. Just good classics, good classic wholesome shit. It's so basic, like it hurts, and you're like, well, of course it would work. That's just what it comes down to. Um, I can think of multiple instances like when all the kids like were like the elephant kid. I'm so bad with names. We all
Neil.
know this now. Neil, when he finds like the cannon on top of the thing, like and he shoots at it, and first he used to be like so scared, like he wouldn't do things. Now he's like finding a turbo laser and getting it up and running and shooting it at like a pirate freighter and then getting the
Yeah.
fuck out of Dodge as it targets him, to help his friends.
Yeah, to help
And
KB
like
get through to send the
the
message
KB,
out. Yeah.
yeah, and KB had to like be brave and realize she can do this. She can do this. She can fix anything. When she got shot out of the sky, I knew she didn't die because there was
Yeah.
an explosion.
Yeah.
People were saying, "Oh, they wouldn't kill a kid." I think that they would for dramatic effect.
Bro, I mean, they were straight up blowing up people's houses and shit. Like, people died there. Like, they didn't show up, but people died during this invasion, right? Like, we didn't, but like, that's another thing with like how quickly the episode ends. We don't get to see the aftermath, any of the rebuild, right? Like, anything really, right? I mean, the pirate ship crashed into like their water supply. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't know how this is I mean, I'm sure the New Republic is gonna help them and all this stuff, and we don't really need to see any of that. It's just like it felt like the episode just like ended very quickly.
Yes, it did, and I think that's the problem with like the runtime being a little bit shorter. Finales, usually get like an hour or something like that for a lot of plays. I think they had a lot of things they probably had to cut to make it all work, and I just think they were at least kind of successfully able to tell a little bit of the story they were able to tell. They wanted to tell, I think.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, the other thing we see at the very end of the episode is the Tantive 4. I don't know if it was that the actual Tantive 4, but
it's just a CR-90 Corellian
yeah,
Corvette.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 The original ship that Princess Leia is in. Well, she's trying to get the message out that the Death Star plans. One of the very first ships we see in Star Wars.
Mm.
And A New Hope. Yeah, it's another little thing, another little interesting tidbit to see at the very, very end of the episode. So yeah, and then Jod is a character with a little more complexity, but ultimately, like, it seems like he really didn't want to hurt anybody, but he's also
Yeah.
really fucking mean in the episode 7 to the
I,
kids. Like, he was cruel. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I think he just like the universe like makes you crazy and mean. I think that's the other thing. Like he was so desperate. Like I think when he saw those credits just sitting there and those kids like had this like super sheltered life and like he met this Jedi for a few moments in his life and then it was taken away from him and he wasn't able to be the hero that he wanted to be and I think that like it kind of broke him fundamentally when he saw all those credits and they started falling over him and he was laughing.
Yeah,
I
and
think that really
then
like
he learns there's like 1,200 volts of that.
Yeah, like I heard, like I think that just like I think that broke him like fundamentally, like as like a person. Like he's just like, okay, I gotta figure this out. I just need to get a ship here, and then we could load it up, and then we can just leave. Like I
No, he
think
didn't
like
want to
that.
leave though. He didn't want to leave.
Yeah, yeah. I think that desperation really started impacting him though.
Yeah. Like his plan was to just take over the planet and use it for infinite wealth forever.
Hmm.
But but yeah, no, like episode 7 as well is the perfect example of the cliffhangers I have a problem with. Like
Yeah.
like a billion% because like the episode ends with the kids reuniting with their parents, Jod coming out, turning on the lightsaber, episode ends. Like
Yeah.
and then episode 8 starts, immediately turns off the lightsaber.
Yeah.
Like it's like there's no point in that. Like it's just like a pointless cliffhanger to make you go, "Oh my god, is he going to like kill the parents in front of the kids or something?" Like and then it just first beat of the next episode resolved, nothing happened. Just turned it off.
Hmm.
He's just the ambassador. He just wants to threaten the kids like, "Hey, if you say anything, I'm going to kill your parents and
Yeah.
whatever."
I really
So,
like the director too. He was like a giant astromech head. I really thought that was
oh
cool.
yeah, the supervisor. Yeah.
Yeah, the supervisor. Yeah, I thought that was a dope looking droid. And
Yeah, it was really interesting too when Jar was like talking about being a Jedi, and then he's
yeah.
like, "Our last communication about the Jedi is that they're all
They're all
enemies."
traitors. That they're all traitors. So are you lying about being an emissary, or are you lying about being a Jedi? Like when he just called them out, like and
That
then
was
like
good.
when she finally like chimed, like the director was like a little brave. Like it's almost like he was kind of like noble. He trained up. He's a pirate. He's just impersonating. He's like, as I suspected. Don't worry, kids. I got this. Like, and then he just gets like his face melted,
Uh,
and that sucks.
yeah,
Yeah, he
yeah.
got fried.
And the supervisor just dies. It's one of my
Yeah.
favorite things too. Is like we're hearing about this mysterious supervisor through the whole show, and of course, as nerds, everyone online is like trying to be like, "I don't know, who do you guys think it is? Do you think it's this guy? Do
I
you think
always,
it's like,
I
bro?"
thought it was a droid from the get go. I thought it was a droid from the get go.
I thought it would
That's
be like a person, but like honestly, my initial thought is like exactly what I thought when they got up to whatever room that was. It was very Wizard of Ozzy, and I kind of felt like the supervisor would be like kind of like the Wizard of Oz, like just a dude,
yeah.
just like some dude. And like when they walked in, I was like, this really reminds me of the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
And
No,
for
I knew it would be a droid from the get go. I just had this feeling like, okay, there's a bunch of droids everywhere. This has got to be a droid. Like, I just think that he's some droid. Like, either maybe you say like they're doing communism or something like that. I don't know. Maybe like the droid is a little bit more rational and explains to people like, hey, the galaxy's crazy. We have this crazy defense network. I decided
well,
to cordon off this planet from the rest of the galaxy
yeah,
after the
I
collapse of
think
the
I
Republic.
think the adults understand that. I think the kids have no idea what's going on. They're just like,
Yeah, yeah. Well,
this is just
she even
how the
said,
world is.
yeah, she even said like, the mom said you're not supposed to meet the supervisor until you pass your final exams or something
Yeah,
like that,
yeah.
right? And then you'll understand, right? And I wonder if they're even given like an option like, okay, now you can stay or you can go. What do you
Yeah.
want to do? Like, do you want to live on this cool suburban planet or you like, and we have a population to like sustain like actual growth and we're not inbreeding or anything like that and everything's great. Or you can go out to this super cruel galaxy that sucks. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, yeah. It's a very interesting show, and there are definitely more layers to it than like even what we've discussed. Like there's a lot there you could unpack and like have kind of deeper conversations about, but just like baseline it's just a very enjoyable show. Like it kind of reminds me of our conversation about like Deadpool and Wolverine, where like when we talked about like you can appreciate like how meta it is and how it's like a satire of satires and like all this kind of stuff. And like most people when they watch it probably won't pick up on most of that stuff. Like it's just something they watch and enjoy. And Skeleton Crew's like that too. Like there's a lot of layers there and a lot of depth you can pick up and have philosophical discussions about, but like you can ignore all of that and still just walk away going, "Wow, I really enjoyed that."
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, my microphone was down my app. I forgot about that. Absolutely. This is something you can walk away from and be like, I kind of want to watch the last episode again almost. I haven't had that sensation since Andor or the
Mm-hmm.
first season of The Mandalorian has been when I go back and like rewatch specific scenes. I kind of want to rewatch that last episode again just cuz.
Yeah, just really good. It's just a really good show. And
Yeah.
it's good to have good Star Wars again. You
Yep.
know, I've seen people with the comments, nah, it's not even Star Wars. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, you know, there are always going to be those people who just want to complain about things. And to be honest, I feel like we could all do with just not being on the internet as much because, like, I honestly believe that, like, if you talk to people in real life about Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, whatever it is you're a fan of, like, you can just have open conversations and, like,
Right. Yeah.
like, there's no toxicity there. Online, that's all there is, and it's like like makes me kind of think like maybe it's not like things aren't this bad, you know?
Mm.
Because I see it with everything, not just like nerd stuff, like other facets of like television or movies. Like sometimes I'll just see comments and I'm just like, everyone hates everything, but that's not reality, you know? Like that's like
Yeah. Absolutely.
it's crazy. It's
Well,
crazy.
if everybody really hated everything, they wouldn't be paying over $1,000 to go to Disneyland. Like, hundreds of thousands of people wouldn't be paying that much money to go to Disneyland, to go spend money, just to
Yeah.
go spend more money there,
Yeah.
on memorabilia and build droids and build their own lightsabers and like, stand in line for 90 minutes to go on fucking, this is stuff obviously like makes a huge impact on people's lives and they love engaging with the content. The internet is a brand new thing, right? It's a whole new experience the last 30 years that we're developing as humanity, right? It's a whole new thing. And as someone who on the internet has been quite toxic myself multiple times in the last 2 years because I'm just really depressed, like, I get it. Like, it's easy to go online and vent your frustrations and just be toxic as fuck, because to be honest with you, most of the time in real life, I think most of us just aren't empowered to complain, like it's like hard these days. Like you're right, you can go and talk with Star Wars with someone, but if you want to go bitch and moan about your problems, it's hard to find someone that like one wants to listen, two will stick around to listen, and three like genuinely gives a shit, right? Like
Yeah.
those things, it's a lot harder to find someone who will like listen to your problems than it is to find someone who's willing to yap with you about Star Wars. Absolutely. And I just think it's like we've got an epidemic of loneliness with men. I think with women too. I think that goes unstated, and like and I just think that there's a lot of angry people on the internet that just they're going about expressing their anger in the wrong way. Like I'm trying to find different ways of going about it too, and I'm not perfect. Sometimes like I obsess over my friends on the internet when I shouldn't. Like I'm making new friends here on the Star Wars game I'm playing. Maybe some of them are listening right now and a little confused what I'm saying, but like sometimes like I obsess over them and try to like socialize with them way too much. And sometimes like I'm just hyper antisocial, and just it's just a whole new thing. Like the internet, like Discord is like almost like social media in itself, right? It's like it's its own little thing now, and it impacts our brains and our chemistry in all sorts of different ways.
Yeah.
And I still think we're learning, waking up to that new experience of like what the internet really is. Maybe we'll get to a point where the internet is more regulated. Maybe we'll get to a point where you and I, as human beings in the United States of America, will have USB ports on our computers, and one of those USB ports will have a device that's plugged in that checks our government issue ID before we go on the internet to make sure that we're 18. Because there are legions and legions of young men getting addicted to like weird kinds of pornography and then just going down the horny rabbit hole.
There's a state that's passing a law
Yeah. I
about
think that's going to become a lot more common as like we begin to
other states have
understand.
tried, but like it's such like a
Yeah.
First Amendment violation that like
Mm.
like or not the First Amendment. There's a one of I don't fucking know, but yeah, it's like but one of the states I think is actually passing it, and it's like it just requires like porn websites to have like all these like kind of like warnings about how like like the effects that porn can have on
The
men in
brain,
their
yeah,
brains and
and
like um
really brings about sexual disassociation, like in the worst kind of ways, and it
that
really does. Yeah.
increased chance of sexual violence and different things,
Yeah.
and it's like
Yeah.
I think there are healthy balances to things,
Yeah,
but
absolutely. There's always a healthy balance, like, but you're right. But that's also like an issue where, like, again, where like 14-year-old kids go on porn, and that becomes like their entire life cycle, right? Where they're just like looking for porn all day, and their parents don't care, like what they do, as long as they go to school and get okay grades, and like maybe they don't make a lot of friends and spend the whole
yeah.
day like just gooning on the
Well,
internet,
I mean,
which is
it's
absolutely
bad when like so like I think back to when I was like in seventh grade, and
mm,
I knew the term. I've never even to this day seen it, but like people in my seventh grade class were talking about two girls, one cup.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like, and
yeah,
I didn't, and I heard about that. I didn't know what it was until I heard it was just like I heard it just like kind of described on a radio show like 5 years ago. Like, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, well, I'm glad I never fucking watched that.
Watch it. Yeah,
Because
it's
holy
disgusting.
shit.
Yeah, like
Yeah. But it's like,
it's
are people watching it because it's disgusting? Or are people genuinely like, turned on by that? I don't know. Like, I mean, and
it's a little
not,
bit. It's the crowd of people watching is both. Like there's people that are fetishist about those sort of things, and yeah, there's like friends like, hey, bro, check out this video. Oh, you made you throw up, bro.
yeah.
There's that shit. Like I don't do that. I'm not that kind of guy, right? I don't like seeing super gross things. Like I get
Bro,
really
even
disturbed.
even hearing it described is like,
Yeah,
it might make some people throw up.
exactly.
So,
Yeah, yep,
but yeah,
yep.
like, yeah, there's definitely a thing there. But if you guys are struggling with these things, just watch Skeleton Crew because it's very good and it has nothing to do with pornography and how it ruins your brain.
Yep, exactly.
So, but yeah, I don't have anything else. I don't know if you have anything else, but I will jot this down as a successful first episode on a computer with a better drive, better memory, better everything,
Yeah.
and it's a laptop for you know does a
Well,
better job than
that's how it be sometimes.
what's even the
Um,
point of spending like $700 on a desktop when you can spend $400 or $500 on a laptop that has better specs?
Well, the laptop is better specs, but laptops also have really bad heating problems, so they can't game consistently over time, or they start slowing down, which is their main problem. Is that they just have serious heating issues because everything's so close together.
Yeah,
Like I look at my computer now, I see all the open space between all my different pieces of hardware and equipment, and I see all the different fans I have to have increased airflow and everything like that. So when you're more a hardcore gamer like I am, like it helps to have a desktop, but also I'm not trying to be an asshole. My computer is $2,500,
yeah,
So there's that to think about too. And it's a computer I slowly built over 2 years. I didn't buy it all at once. Like at
yeah.
first I bought the motherboard and the RAM. I had a shitty GPU. I had a shitty CPU, a bunch of other shitty things. Upgraded the memory, upgraded the GPU, upgraded all that stuff. So yeah.
Nice. Well, that's it, guys. Thanks, everyone. My computer, you probably heard that. Battery
Mhm.
saver is on because it's dying because I didn't plug it in. So that's it. Thanks. Rate, review, comment, subscribe, follow. I don't know. Click all the buttons. We appreciate you. We'll see you
Mm.
next time. Bye.